Welcome to Throttle Only. My name is Nate. This is a 2024 BMW M4 competition. Let's check it out. Before we start with the exterior styling here, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching my content. Thank you for liking and thank you for subscribing, especially as we approach 3,000 subs. So getting into this beautiful M4, starting with this hood, look at this thing. It looks absolutely menacing. I love these two little miniature bulges here. That thing looks so good. There's also a pretty nice BMW badge up front here. And then as we make our way down further, we have our still maybe controversial grille here, but honestly, I love this thing. I think it looks very good. There's also a pretty nice M4 competition badge on there, but honestly, I think that badge would look so much better if it was in white, because then it would contrast with this black grille. Now at the bottom of that grille there's also all the radar cruise technology hidden in there. And in the middle of that grille on the body, this does have a front camera. On the very sides of the vehicle, we have some functional side air curtains here. And then also if you look down below, there's also somewhat of a front splitter here, and it does have some contrast with the white body paint and the black. And last but not least, adding to the menacing, aggressive appearance that this BMW M4 has, these headlights, they have LED projector headlamps, but the daytime running lamps are really what does it for me. They look super aggressive, and then when you turn on the turn signals or the hazards, the outermost DRL will turn in an amber color, which I think looks super amazing. So I'm going to show you what the vehicle looks like with the top up, but for the rest of the review, I'm going to go ahead and keep the top down. So let's take a second just to appreciate the side profile of this vehicle, especially with the top down. This thing looks so good. So let's talk about these wheels here. So these are the M double spoke black wheels, style 826M. There are 6 piston brake calipers up here in the front, and the size tires are 2 75/35. And in the rear, there's 2 85/30 size tires with a sliding brake caliper. Overall, there are M compound brakes. As we make our way up, just a little bit, there's an M4 competition badge here with this fake vent, but man, that still looks super good. And looking at these mirrors here, so these are the M style mirrors, and I think they look so aggressive. They definitely add to the overall appearance here. And on the outside of the mirror, there is the LED indicator. They also will fold. They have a blind spot monitor as well, and they'll also dim too if vehicles have their lights in view. As we look at the handles here, this does have all your proximity sensing and whatnot inside of that, so you can just easily approach the vehicle and enter. Now, as we make our way down just a little bit, I really love this black side skirt here. It comes out just a little bit, but definitely adds to that overall appearance here. There are also 2 body lines here. One is directly underneath the handle there, and then the other one is down where the side skirt is. As we come on back just a little bit more here, there's nothing else on the driver's side here, but on the passenger side, you have the fuel door. And now finishing up the exterior styling here with the rear end. So I think this rear end looks just as aggressive as the front here. Let me just show you what it looks like from the rear with the top up. And now looking at the trunk here, so there's not a spoiler on the trunk. It does have a little bit of body styling there, which I think still works very well. But if you do add a spoiler, just keep in mind though, you might not have enough room when you're putting the top down. There's also a pretty nice BMW badge there in mid trunk, and your reverse camera will also be hidden inside of there. On one side, there's an xDrive badge. On the other side, there's an M4 competition badge. And at the very bottom here, you have a very aggressive rear diffuser here, and then there's also quad exhaust tips. And finishing up with the headlights, I think they look very good as well. They have a pretty nice swoopy appearance to them, especially when the parking lights are on. And then when the turn signals are on, it has a little gap there that'll fill in a nice red color. So now let's see if this M4 sounds any good. So let's review the specs for the 2024 BMW M4 Competition Convertible. Then I'll show you the website to compare the 2025 version. Under the hood, it has a 3-liter BMW M TwinPower turbo inline 6-cylinder. It produces 503 horsepower, 479 pound-feet of torque. It has an 8-speed automatic transmission, xDrive all-wheel drive. In the city, it gets 16 miles per gallon, 23 on the highway, and 18 combined. It also has a curb weight of 4,306 pounds. On BMW's website here, scrolling to the bottom to find the exact spec as this one, you can see the starting MSRP is $95,300 US, and the horsepower and the miles per gallon have been improved. And here are some of the options to choose from. As you can see, there are a lot of additions that can be added. So let's see what kind of trunk space we have here on the M4. I'm gonna go ahead and just put my hand underneath the BMW badge here, push that button. And here's a look at the trunk space. Obviously, it's not very usable. There's some small area just under where the retractable top will sit. There's a nice little net right here. And then your tow hook is also hidden underneath this little panel here. If I remove that, there you go. And then you also have a little button here. If you pull this little tab, that'll release the seat here. And you can just pull this down like this. And then so you have this little area right here. If you want to go ahead and use your net, here are some directions on how to do that. And so here's what the vehicle looks like with that net installed here. And then just to uninstall it or to install it, make sure that this is folded down. And then you can just lift in the center here. Pull this little tab and then lift, and then it comes right on out. So now let's look at the passenger side here. I rolled up these windows here just so you can see that they're frameless and just how they look. Let's go ahead and open this door on up here. And there's some nice black trim here on the edge of that window that looks pretty good. Let's take a look at these materials here. So at the top, it is pretty plush. There's also a Harman Kardon speaker grille up here. Your nice aluminum handle here, unlock and locking controls, a nice speaker grille, window button, and here's a blank switch. This is for your seat presets. And then the passenger armrest is actually very padded. And then there's some storage down below. And moving on into the vehicle here on the passenger side, there's an M4 sill. I really wish this was illuminated. I think that would look so much better. There's also a bunch of automatic seat controls here, and this one's for your bolsters. There's some manual thigh support here. And just take a look at how beautiful these seats are. And my favorite thing at the very top here is this M4 logo that will illuminate at night. And this does have the neck warming option here as well. Just take a look at these seats. And these seats also have the heated option as well. And inside the glove box, pretty good amount of storage. The passenger gets to look at some pretty nice carbon fiber material here. And there's a pretty plush dash as well. And there's some white stitching up here as well. Now getting into the rear seats here is pretty simple. You just have to pull this little tab that's behind the seat here. Pull that seat forward and it'll automatically adjust for you. And then let's just take a look at how much room there is trying to get in here. Decent amount of room. These seats look pretty good in the back here. The headrests are pretty firm. But as far as everything else here, I mean, the seats feel pretty comfortable. In the very center here, there's also some nice cup holders. Beautiful Harman Kardon speaker grille there, and there is a little bit of storage there as well. And if you're looking to put the seats back, all you have to do is just pull this headrest back. It'll automatically adjust for you. And I'm just gonna adjust this seat forward just a little bit because I'm curious to see how much room there is. So I adjusted the seat for maybe someone who is like 5'6", 5'8". And this is about how much room you'll have if you're sitting in the back here. So it is usable. And for the rear seat passengers, there's also a display where they can control the climate. And now taking a look at the driver's side here, it's pretty much the same exact thing we saw on the passenger side. Same beautiful materials. We have our seat button presets right here. This button here will control all of the windows so you can quickly turn them all down or up. 4 window controls, mirror controls here. There's also a trunk button here as well. And then coming on in, Same beautiful M4 sill. Down below we have rubber and aluminum pedals, which I think look very good. And these same beautiful seats. I love the seat belts as well. And then my favorite part, this M4 logo here at the top. And here's a look at the center console slash armrest area, which is pretty padded. Opening it on up, it does lock in the back here. And then inside there's a good amount of storage with a USB Type-C. Now in front of the center console area here, you have this beautiful carbon fiber material. I mean, just look at this weave. And it runs all the way up here. And up top, if you just push this button here, there's a wireless charging pad right here. One USB Type-A, 2 cup holders, a 12-volt adapter here. You have this beautiful M shifter. I love the colors on it. It looks very good. These 3 dots here have to do with the transmission speed. 3 dots is your maximum shifting speed and 1 is your minimum. There's a nice rotary dial to the right of that shifter with some nice buttons here. You have a traction control off button here, a camera button, toggle that. It'll bring up your rear camera, and this also has a front camera as well. You have a parking button right here for your parking assist, and again, that'll bring up that rear camera, and you also have a backup assistant button right there. You have your auto engine off button right here, a start engine stop button, a my mode button, pressing that. You can toggle between sport mode here or road mode. In road mode, it'll also change your display up here. So currently this is road mode. And I'll go ahead and switch it into sport mode here. And there's sport. Coming on back down here, there's also a setup button. If I were to push the setup button here, it'll bring up pretty much everything you can configure with the vehicle here. Of course, there are the M1 and M2 buttons. If I click the M1 button here, then I have all of the different items here I can configure. There's also an exhaust button. If you toggle the exhaust button on, it's a little bit louder. That's with the exhaust button on, and then here's off. Hopefully you can hear that difference there. Then there's an auto hold button, an electronic parking button right here. These 2 buttons right here are for your neck warmers with 3 different levels. And then this is how you can raise and lower the top. And up from there, I just love how simple this area is. I mean, you have 2 vents here. You can easily open and close them. You have a volume knob right here. You can easily just mute the tracks. Or you can also skip tracks here, turn on your hazards. And you also have some AC buttons right there. And here's a look at this beautiful M4 steering wheel. It has a BMW logo here in the very center. At the very top, there's nice contrast stitching here in those M colors. There's a bunch of carbon fiber here. You can see there's your paddle shifters here in the back. There's your minus, and then there's your plus. You also have your customizable M buttons. There's your M1 button right there. And your M2 button. You can see all of this carbon fiber here. On the right side here, you can use this menu to change your head-up display and the digital instrument gauge cluster, which I'll show you in a minute. And of course, you have your phone and volume controls there. On the left side here, this is where you use all of your cruise control options here, as well as your assisted driving, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit later. This also has a heated steering wheel option. You can see right there. And then this beautiful M logo down below. To the left of the steering wheel, here are the lighting controls. You can just turn the lights off. You have auto, headlights on. You also have a bunch of parking lights as well. And then if you want to adjust the screen brightness, you can use this toggle button right here. So now I'll start it up and show you this digital instrument gauge cluster here. So using these buttons right here, I'll go ahead and push this, and you can see right about here it says content, and there's also head-up display right there. And I can use this scroll wheel here at the bottom right to just scroll through the content. So starting at the very bottom here, I have music. There's your G meter, your sport displays with your pound-feet of torque and your horsepower, your tire pressure as well as their temperature. Then you also have some engine data here, and then your setup. And then here's a look at the maps. and then your route preview and your assisted view. And then you can also just have it blank. So additionally, if you want to look at your trip data, you can just push this BC button right here, and then it'll show you some of the values for the trip. And if you want to go ahead and go on back, you can just push this toggle button right here again, and then choose whichever you want, and it'll go back to normal. And if you want to switch the display, you can push the My Mode down below, hit Sport, and then doing so, it'll go ahead and change that for you. And then this is the reduced mode, but again, if you want to change this, you can just use this toggle button right here. And then you can scroll through all the content, and it'll just display on the left side of your tack there. So here's a look at the infotainment screen here. I'm going to start with this panel here on the left. So first you have applications, music, phone, navigation, and lastly CarPlay. If I push the app section here, there are a ton of applications for this vehicle. There are a couple that I find extremely useful, however: Apple CarPlay, Spotify, weather, and then live vehicle is pretty cool. If I push live vehicle, you can adjust the content. So here I'll put vehicle status. Adaptive is my favorite. And as I push that, as you can see, that definitely is adaptive content. I'll go ahead and go back here to my application section. There's system settings, which is always important. And this is where you can really adjust everything that you want. Interior lighting, you can adjust the interior lighting, adjust the color here, the brightness. The only downside here that I can see is I really wish that they had more lighting options. It's weird that they only have a few. And then going on back to those apps menu here, scrolling on down, Amazon Alexa, audiobooks, calendar, messages, maps and CarPlay, uneven road surface. It'll basically just tell you when you're approaching an area where the surface is uneven. You can adjust your displays here, your digital instrument gauge cluster, as well as your head-up display. Doors and windows, driving settings, exterior lighting. We'll go to driving settings here. You can adjust your driver assistance warnings. You can also set it up, as well as your exterior lighting. And then moving on back to home here, on this side here you have music, phone, navigation, and there's also Apple CarPlay. And this section here is pretty nice as well. This is your widget section, and you can just scroll along. So here's your setup, Apple CarPlay, telephone. Gives a bunch of information here, which is very useful. And before we take it out for a drive, here's a good look at the key fob. On the side here, we have the M colors. All of your standard controls here on the front, a nice BMW logo there. On this side, there's nothing. So inside the BMW M4 competition, we're gonna start with a launch control using the M mode right now. I'm gonna see if I can keep this top down. Hopefully the audio is picking up. We're gonna go ahead and launch it. Oh, oh my God. This thing is so freaking fast. Oh, and going around corners like absolutely nothing. This is for sure how it's supposed to be driven. Oh my God. These bolsters just hold you into place. And the seats are pretty comfortable too. I have like no body roll whatsoever. Oh my God. All right, so we're gonna do another launch here. These shifts are lightning quick. So you can adjust pretty much everything that has to do with the engine, the transmission, the braking. You can even turn off the exhaust if you want to. All right, let's do another. I'm not gonna launch it this time. I'm just gonna floor it. Holy moly. So I just let the car shift for me on that one, and it's still ridiculously fast. I'm gonna go ahead and shift now. As far as fuel economy, let's see what I've been getting here. My average fuel economy was 19.4 miles per gallon, which really isn't that bad. So there are two customizable M buttons on the steering wheel here. Now the first M mode that I have here configured is all performance. If I toggle that one, the exhaust system is on, the braking is in sport, the steering is in sport, the engine is at its most performance-oriented Sport Plus mode, the transmission is also in the maximum shifting mode as well. And sometimes I'll shift between the automatic shifting mode and the manual shifting mode, depending on how much attention I really want to give the car. And then for the second mode here, I have it for the most efficient setting. It'll go ahead and turn off the exhaust there. It'll also turn the shifting into the most comfortable setting, and then the engine and everything else into comfort mode, which honestly I think is the best way to set this up, because then you have a performance mode, and then you have a mode that you can just drive around town, and maybe when you start the vehicle, you won't also wake up your neighbors. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift it back into the sport mode here, because I think that's really where this belongs. I really hope that those crackles are picking up on camera as well. Oh, that sounds so good. Oh my God. All right, so this has your M standard brakes on here. I'm curious how these brakes are gonna handle. So I've never really done this before on camera, but here's a brake test. Oh my God. Yeah, these have some bite on them. So lastly here, I'm gonna take it around a U-turn and see how it does. Oh yeah, this handles like nothing. Wow. Absolutely insane. Oh my gosh. Man. If you guys are looking for an M4 and considering an M4 40i, don't make my mistake. The M4 is in an entirely different level of performance. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed my review of this BMW M4 competition. This thing was an absolute blast to drive. So thank you guys so much for watching my video here. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing, because I do car reviews and I have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.